Hey guys, Mrhappy here, and welcome to another job comparison video. The first one I did compared paladins and warriors, objectively looking at the two jobs and how they use different tools to fulfill the same role. Since that video, I've gotten two major requests, Scholar versus White Mage, and Dragoon versus Monk, with Summoner versus Black Mage coming up once or twice. This video, we will cover Dragoon and Monk. Keep in mind, there's a lot to take in here, so the video could get pretty long. Also, we didn't forget about Bard. We'll talk about them in another video. Finally, this will not be an extensive guide to the jobs. It is more about acclimating viewers to the tools and purposes of each job. Unlike the Paladin versus Warrior video, most Dragoon and Monk tools are completely different. However, a handful of tools can be used by both jobs. This includes the following abilities: Second Wind, Featherfoot, Haymaker, Internal Release, Mantra, Feint, Keen Flurry, Impulse Drive, Invigorate, and Blood for Blood. While these abilities might be shared, they are stronger when used on their native job, so they will be mentioned here too. Now, what do these two jobs have in common? They are both melee damage dealers that deal decent damage over time and burst damage. They both scale with strength. They both have position dependencies, though some are more technical. They can share several of the other class's tools, and they both share Marauder as a subclass, which gives them access to Bloodbath, Skull Sunder, Fracture, Foresight, and Mercy Stroke. Now that we know some of the similarities, let's break down each job in a more technical way. First, we'll talk about Dragoon. Wielding a powerful polearm, Dragoons are legendary dragon slayers, whose choice of weapon comes out of necessity to breach a dragon's thick skin. Using nifty jump attacks to reach the flying beast, Dragoons are capable of jumping all around combat to gain positional advantages and deal damage. Dragoons have a few combos they must chain together in the right order to maximize their damage. They also have a single target rotation, along with some consistent AoE damage. First, as a Dragoon, you'll always want to start every fight with Heavy Thrust, as its buff increases your damage output. Follow up by applying your two dot spells, Chaos Thrust and Phlebotomize. To apply Chaos Thrust, you must combo Impulse Drive into Disembowel into Chaos Thrust. Disembowel will additionally reduce the target's piercing resistance, also increasing your damage. This must be reapplied every 30 seconds, along with the Chaos Thrust dot. Apply Phlebotomize after Chaos Thrust. Once all of your dots and damage buffs are up, you can chain the combo of True Thrust to Vorpal Thrust to Full Thrust until you need to reapply your other skills or adapt to a situation. You can also throw in your jump skill every 40 seconds for some added damage per minute. Additionally, if no one else in your party is applying slow to the target, be sure to use Feint on the target to slow down their actions. Next, you have three primary AoE moves. Ring of Thorns can be comboed from Heavy Thrust and is the most TP efficient AoE Dragoons have. Doomspike deals damage in a line and is for AoEing monsters as you close the gap running up to them. It's pretty expensive to spam this move. And finally, you have Dragonfire Dive, which is an AoE with a long cooldown, and is best used in phases that require you to burst down targets. Make sure it's available for those times. Also remember that this deals magical damage. This may be important for certain fights. To supplement these damaging combos, you have a number of tools off the global cooldown. Life Surge makes your next hit automatically crit and heal you, and should be saved for your hardest hitting abilities. Remember that this works on non-magical attacks only, meaning Dragonfire Dive won't work. Blood for Blood increases your damage by a large percentage, while causing the Dragoon to take a lot more damage. Be sure this is up when you won't be taking AoE damage. Remember that monks have this too, but it's stronger for Dragoons. Power Surge will enhance the damage of your jump or spine shredder dive by 50%. Most efficiently used on jump, since it makes the jump deal 300 potency damage. Invigorate restores a large amount of TP. This ability is stronger when used on a Dragoon. Some additional tools that Dragoons bring include 2 stuns, both sitting on low to moderate cooldowns, a backwards jump that breaks bind and heavy effects, and a large parry buff. So what are the pros to the Dragoon? They have simple, straightforward combos. They have multiple forms of accessible AoE. They are less position dependent. They are capable of escaping dangerous situations. They learn their strongest single target rotation early on. These are all very powerful pros, by the way. They do have some cons, however, usually in the form of their resources or ability gating tools. For example, their combos have very expensive TP costs. Their strongest abilities have long cooldowns, and AoE spells are gated by both of the above, by high TP costs, cooldowns, or requiring combos. So the summary of this job is that it's a great job for people who are new to MMOs, or even just new to the damage dealing role. Their simple combos will attract people looking to focus more on raid mechanics than on their rotations. Combined with high single target damage and AoE burst damage, the Dragoon not only does great damage, but they look pretty cool while doing it. Now let's talk about monks. Monks are damage dealers that let their fists do the talking. Combining the use of several martial arts forms, monks are capable of severely wounding their targets while swiftly avoiding their attacks. With some decent defensive maneuvers to fall back on, monks can stand toe-to-toe with just about any foe. I swear I didn't mean to make that rhyme. Monks utilize an advanced technique for rotations, known as forms. There are 3 forms: Opal form, Raptor form, and Corel form. Each form has a general function, and some moves can only be performed or are most effective when in a specific form. Using a move related to one form will change you into the next form, with the order of the forms always being Opal to Raptor to Corel, and then back around to Opal. I will list each form, their abilities, and the bonuses gained from the forms here. Remember, when we're describing these abilities now, we will be describing the ability as if you are using it in the most beneficial form. First are the Opal form related attacks. These are usually your openers. Bootshine is a basic attack that automatically critically strikes from behind. Arm of the Destroyer is a weak AoE attack that also silences. And Dragon Kick deals moderate damage from an enemy's side or flank and reduces a target's blunt resistance and intelligence. Next are the Raptor form abilities, which are always triggered by using an Opal form ability. True Strike deals moderate damage and has a higher chance of critting from behind. Twin Snakes deals moderate damage from an enemy's side and increases your damage output for a short time. One Ilm Punch deals low damage and removes one beneficial status from the target. And finally, you have the Corel form abilities, which act as your finishers after doing a Raptor form attack. All of these moves grant you a stack of a buff called Greased Lightning, which increases your skill speed and damage per stack. Snap Punch deals moderate damage from a target's side. Rockbreaker deals conal damage, and Demolish applies a strong damage over time effect. Remember that those abilities we just described, we describe them as if you were in the form that gives you all of those bonuses. If you are not in the form for Opal, for example, Bootshine will not automatically crit. So keep that in mind. Your goal as a monk is to balance all of these moves, keeping your Greased Lightning stacks up, your Twin Snakes buff up, your Damage Kick debuff on, and your Demolish dot always ticking. Additionally, you must weave in Touch of Death, which is a damage over time ability that is independent of forms. You should reapply it early, and then reapply it when you have all of your damage buffs on. Monks also have some powerful offensive and defensive abilities off the global cooldown. Featherfoot increases evasion, Second Wind heals you based on your current attack power, and internal release increases your critical strike chance. Dragoon can use all of these abilities also, but they're more powerful on monks. Monks additionally have 3 fist stances: Fist of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Only one of these abilities can be active at any time, and each of them lasts indefinitely. Earth reduces the damage taken, Fist of Wind increases your movement speed, and Fist of Fire increases your damage. If you mess up your rotation and need to ensure you stack your forms properly, you can also use the ability Perfect Balance, which allows you to use abilities without a form requirement for 10 seconds. You can also use it to set up your initial combos and damage buffs, but it has a long cooldown, so if you're going to do this, make sure you won't need it later. If you need to close the gap between you and an enemy, you have Shoulder Tackle. You must be at least 10 yalms away to use this move, but it puts you in melee range and stuns the target for a short time. Finally, monks have Howling Fist, a moderate strength line AoE that can be used every 60 seconds. Depending on the fight, you can either use this every time it's available, or save it for a specific AoE phase. Some additional tools monk have include a powerful potency stun on a moderate cooldown, a move that can be used only after evading an attack, and a strong AoE buff that increases your raid's healing received. So let's look at the pros for a monk. They have great adaptability and utility. They're generally exciting to play. They're able of defending themselves or healing when they need to. They have a multitude of single target and AoE damage. They have extremely low TP costs, and they have a really low global cooldown due to their skill speed buffs. But what are the cons of them? One is that they are difficult to master and require a lot of focus on your rotation. The abilities they have hit faster, but are also weaker without their damage buffs. They lack a reliable escape in a bad situation, and they're extremely position dependent. Summary though, monks deal smaller numbers in much faster succession, putting them on par with the other damage dealing jobs while giving them the ability to supply great raid utility. Combined with their ability to fend for themselves, they are excellent in any raid composition, especially when healing up after an AoE damage is a big deal. My conclusion, both of these jobs cater to completely different forms of melee DPS, one being big numbers that are a bit slower paced, while the other has slightly smaller damage numbers that must be done in quick succession. There is something here for everyone, and hopefully you decide to try out both Monk and Dragoon before making your choice. If I had to pick one, I would pick Monk for their free-flowing combos and damage buffs. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, favorite, subscribe, and share. For more Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn information, check out my channel. Be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and also Twitch if you want to watch me stream a little bit later. And finally, you can donate to me to help me do what I do, or you can donate to gamingforgood.net, which is a charity foundation that donates money to the Save the Kids Foundation. If you need more information on that, feel free to send me a tell. But anyway guys, thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.